Yep, sorry, fucking accidentally pressed the lock button, so this is gonna be part two. But dude, yeah. There's this one time when I came home while I lived at camp, and I tried to talk to my parents about kind of like what was going down, and I have no idea if this is gonna come across on camera. It's right there. I have no idea if you could see that kind of dent right there. Yeah. I fucking slammed my head right here on the fridge to try and break that shit, the block in the the fucking plug. Because I could feel, like, And my mom just watched me. Like, she was just sitting in this chair, just kind of, like, looking at me, having this breakdown, just, like, drinking it in, not giving a fuck, unconcerned. And I fucking slammed my head into that fucking fridge. Because I felt like I was disintegrating, and I felt like I was so different than I was before I moved out. And she was just acting like nothing was... She was, like, constantly invalidating what I was saying and telling me that I sounded crazy and needed help and all this. And I slammed my head against the fucking fridge because I couldn't take it anymore. And, dude, she didn't even fucking react. She didn't get out of her chair. She just looked at me. She was just like... Do you remember in fucking Star Wars? Fucking... What's his name? Palpatine? He's like, good. That's what it was like, bro. Okay? Like... That's what it was like. And... Dude, it was bad. Dude, it was bad. And, by the way, massive apologies, like, to my roommate Diego and to his girlfriend Molly. I thought that it was them doing this shit to me. I thought it was them. I was led to believe that as well. And it was a mistake. And my deepest apologies. Energetically, I hope to repay them both in full and then some when this is done. And I hope their reputations can kind of... I don't think anything really happened. I hope that their reputations are still fine, but just in case, they didn't murder my soul. First of all, my soul's immortal. But they didn't murder... But I'm pulling that back out. But they didn't murder my soul. They didn't... It was all these guys doing all the nasty shit. So... my deepest apologies to them. I hope they're doing okay. I don't think they're dating anymore, but to both of them, I wish them well. And my heart goes out to them, dude, because I know what it's like to get fucking slandered and drugged through the mud and all that shit. I know what it's like. It's not fun. And and it don't feel good. And I understand it. And my deepest apologies to them. And that's it. Anyways, my brain felt like it was fucking disintegrating to get back onto the story, not the story, to get back on track. There you come on back here. So as my brain was like disintegrating in front of me and my personage was getting completely decimated and, torn to shreds and abused and tortured and all sorts of nasty shit. I was constantly trying to figure out what the fuck was happening to me, and, like, I was just coping for the first, 6 to 8 months. I was drinking, and I was smoking a shit ton of weed. And I was not meditating, and I was just looking shit up on the internet when I wasn't working at Old Navy, having panic attacks constantly and shit. I was just looking shit up on the internet, trying to figure out what the fuck was wrong with me. And I was going to therapy once a week, which I had to ask my parents for. They did not, suggest it or anything. I had to ask them for that. And, and as the year kind of went on, I kind of the beginnings of the complete replacement had dude, straight up, at some point I was being a servant. I could tell because I was the willpower. I was being a servant for some other thing, like another person, dude, like a mini me, or like it was a second person in me who was like, it was Piper. It was this chimeric Piper being. Yeah, which was like a unionization of two halves of my parents' souls, because they made some fucking deal with the devil and split their shit and tried to make a literal, I'm adopted, and so I guess they, and I could not remember what life was like before this, like, this mental fucking wreckage, and I was like brainwashed and like taking care of this fucking second being named Piper, trying to teach it about, because it was shitty and like and it, like entitled and like judgmental as fuck and kind of anti-God, and I didn't understand it, and narcissistic as well, and I didn't understand like when I couldn't when I got like this, it's super hard to like describe what it was like at the time, just being the willpower of my body with a different person being the thing inside of me, if that makes sense. This being is what I used to call it, and I was unwittingly raising this fucking thing, trying to like press out the doo-doo, and you know what I mean? Because there was all this judgmental ucky garbage, and dude, it was causing me to become distanced and separate from everybody in my life. It cut me off from all of my friends, from any kind of support, basically. From any kind of support at all. It got me super fucking isolated. And because the thing was toxic to be around, dude. Shit. And it got me super isolated. I still have not recovered my social relationships from the wreckage that this thing has caused. Because literally, when it's around other people, it just drinks in their souls. It just consumes them, while it's all arrogant and judgmental and egotistical. It is cancerous to be around. And it's not me. It is not me. And this thing had replaced me in my own life. And I have yet to have like begun reaching out to many people, like a couple people. But you know what I mean? Dude, I used to have a fairly functional social circle. And dude, I don't talk to literally fucking anybody closely anymore. Anybody. I do not have a singular close friend at all. And I'm sure if I began talking to people again, like, you know what I mean, I could probably get close with others again, which I miss. But dude, as of right now, like, hermit, dude, straight the fuck out, like, complete hermit. And it's so not me, dude. I love people. I love being social. I love conversation. I love, it's so not me to be like isolated like this. But it's been like this for, dude, since Kent, since even before that, dude, like, since Ethan, honestly, like, since I started fucking transitioning, because it was replacing the me with this fucking demonic slug, fucking malignant drain tumor, fucking back of Voldemort's head type shit. And dude, it sounds made up as fuck. On God, dude. Straight up, on God. But, this is my experience. This is how it went down. This shit sounds, but this is what I lived through. This is what I lived through. I finally, I've been trying to figure out a way to, I did not have the vocabulary to tell this story for most of while it was going down. I did not have the vocabulary to like talk to anybody about it, and I was isolated as fuck, so I didn't have anybody to talk about it with. And it has been fucking Yeah. And yeah. And I know it's doing its typical, drinking people's shit inside and pulling it in. Milking this thing fucking dry. But still, all things being the same, while this shit's melting off of me, I figure we might as well give it a little dirge, a little fucking send me home song, bro. And shit. So, yeah. And anyways, to get back to the story, I'm trying to remember where we're at. Oh yeah. So after the first 6 months in Kent, with all the disintegration and all that shit, I finally began to reconnect to my soul. In March. And it was very slow and it was very incremental. Do you know what I mean? It was at first it was just plants. I started to buy plants, dude, and because the air in my room was shitty as fuck, and I wanted to freshen it up, and I figured plants were a good way to do that. I remember now. And so I started buying some plants. And just like with animals and just like with reptiles and amphibians and birds and shit, I got super into the plants. I thought they were really cool and I was fascinated with them and I wanted to learn how to take care of them properly and information about the species and where they're from and shit like that, dude. And I started getting into gardening and all this shit and propagation and Nepenthes, fucking tropical pitcher plants. I love Nepenthes. But yeah, I started getting big into them and I started spending my Old Navy cash on plants, just filling up my fucking apartment with them. And it brought me a lot of joy, dude. It was all the hell that I had been through over the last just a little breath of normal, just living life, It was nice, man. And I got inspired and shit and I wanted to get a greenhouse one day and I wanted to and it was a breath of fresh air. And that's actually where my album that I made, fucking shameless plug, it's called Breath. That's why it's called Breath, basically. And it's spiritual osmosis and shit. But yeah, it was I was constantly being suffocated, and in March with those plants, I was finally starting to be able to breathe again, because when the fake thing's in me, it's purely parasitic, dude. It can't breathe its own air. And so once I started consciously breathing again, that's the kind of unity from which all of the fractal reality emerges. It's all essentially a big breath, a big a big bang, whatever you want to say. Yeah. And, going back to pure basics, just breath, I wanted to breathe better, and that's why I got into plants. And so it kind of led into, spirit again. Spirit, respire, breath. Yeah. And yeah. And I started to make music again. After I started getting into plants and stuff, I started to make music again. And I started to make a song every day and shit. I've mentioned this before because I was trying to erode away my judgmental ass, thing, my judgmental ass tumor friend thing. I was trying to erode it away, dude, because I started to read the Dhammapada and, scriptures and meditation and stuff like that. I started to get back into that. And I started to watch Matthias DeStefano videos, and he kind of taught me about the self-reflective capacity of the self and ways you can use that for meditative purposes and for chakra alignments and for activations for certain chakras. That's actually how I reactivated my heart chakra and found my core again, and lots of shit, dude. And basically I started to work on remembering who I am and reassembling my soul. From April through June, I was working on that. And I was I was meditating as much as I could, and I was creating a lot of time boundaries. I was trying to conquer this ego. And so I would make rules about how long I could be in the shower for. I had to be a certain level of efficient with it so I would like have to maintain my presence. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't just like mosey around and shit. I had to stay present, and I had to like as soon as I woke up, I had to get out of bed, take my pills, which I was at the time literally I was consciousness taking care of a different being. That's how it was like for yeah, and yeah, and yeah, dude, yeah, and yeah. Anyways, I would like regiment myself and like ration my time like super heavy, and I was trying to titrate my emotional coping and replace it with consciousness. Do you know what I mean? I was trying to like cut back on my weed usage, and I stopped smoking cigarettes, and I stopped drinking, except for like one beer a night. You know what I mean? As opposed to like a whole bottle of wine a night. And I used to have a problem. And dude, I don't drink anymore, thank goodness. But yeah, dude, yeah, and yeah. I started to titrate all that shit down real heavy, and I started to basically treat the time I was there before I had to move back home, because since my mind had been getting eroded away, I had to quit my job because I was literally no longer functional like enough to work that job. I was getting fucked with that bad. And that was actually around April, and that's when I started to really like dedicate all of my time to reassembling my soul and healing. Is kind of what I would say in my mind. It's healing. And I was having, dude, I made wonderful progress during that time. In like a 3-month span, I could not believe like how quickly I got in touch with who I really am and like my soul's history and shit. And like it was cool. Like I felt good at it, dude. I felt like real good at it. Like meditation and yoga, I felt good at it because it was yeah, I was healing quite quickly, and I was getting rid of this. I called it my yin ego. Yeah, like my fucking evil twin, dude. I was trying to fucking destroy that shit because I could smell its fucking, yeah, I could smell it from a mile away. And so I was trying to not only reassemble my soul, but kill that thing. Because I knew it was a thing, bro. I knew it was a thing. It behaves like a thing. It doesn't behave like a person. Because it isn't a person. It's a fucking animatron, fucking chimeric fucking thing. Yeah. And yeah. And dude, yeah. Yeah. As I was getting in touch with like spirit and consciousness and the unity and like the actual me, like the highest self in me, do you know what I mean? The core of my heart. I started to become aware that there was a dichotomy between that me and the me I was like teaching and taking care of. I started to become aware of that dichotomy, that we were not the same. And yeah, I was making really good progress with that. And I was like kind of feeling great about myself, because whenever my parents get really like, when they're less domineering and kind of like, like deflated, I knew I was doing something right. You know what I mean? And yeah, and so that was kind of like, like if a tick is inflated with, they started to look deflated. And and I started to feel like if it's a tug of war of chi between good and bad, dude, I started to feel like it was actually starting to like take root on the good side again. And shit felt like it was getting better, and like nature started to get full of color again, dude, and like there was like dew on the grass and shit, and the sun had like its full myriad of colors. It wasn't just like a dull white, it was like a full rainbow white. And life started to have the thatness to it again. Shit started to be fucking beautiful, and the air started to smell good again. It was like nectar, though. It smelled like nectar. And I started to feel all this love for reality again, and for life, and for the life around me, and for learning, and for, and for just being. I started to feel actual love again, which I had been, devoid of, while this other thing had been, yeah, dude, yeah. And it was wonderfully, I started crying so bad. I remember the day that my heart chakra got reactivated, though, when I could finally feel like love and connection again in my net. And yeah, dude, yeah. I was crying my eyes out. I was fucking shaking all over the place and stuff. And yeah, hey, I was also squeezing that thing like a tick and shit. And yeah, well, yeah, my parents were constantly fucking wrestling me for my fucking Vajra, dude. Yeah, they were constantly wrestling for my fucking Vajra, my pincer thing. And yeah, when I actually did have it, when I had it back in my own hand, dude, I could use it to fucking actually pop this thing open. And so it didn't take that long, but a few months, but and my Kundalini awakened for the first time during that time period, and that's when kind of the components of my soul started to truly like actually like line back up, and I started to feel like a coherent person again, like a human being, dude. Yeah, and yeah, but like, you know what I'm like, a fucking person. I started to feel like a person again, like comfy in my own skin and shit. And I also started to get hints. I remember at that time, I started to like feel. I was like, why do I feel like a gay guy, or like a bisexual guy? I didn't feel like I did not feel like a woman, even though I was transitioning and shit. Like, I felt like the other thing, the fucking. Yeah, that was the one that wanted to be a woman. I was comfy, kind of being a fruity dude. You know what I mean? Yeah, and I started to like kind of, it was like this kind of like I don't give a fuckness about identity. Do you know what I mean? It was like a, call me whatever the fuck you want, use whatever name you want, call me whatever gender, whichever one I look more like to you or whatever. It's kind of what I used to say. And yeah, like I started to be less clingy about identity, because I was starting to get hints that who I just am is super different from who this thing wanted to pretend it was. And towards the end of the year, my buddy Shiva came around to help me out to fucking destroy this thing. And that's it's a little later, but that was actually after the 4th of July. Well, the first time was like, oh, that must have been in like, dude, like May or like something like that. Like, oh yeah, they had him fucking completely encased in a sacral chakra, and they were just like sitting him down on the floor, fucking putting these videos on about narcissism and trying to tell him that he's a narcissist. And it was super abusive, and I could tell that the dude was like hijacked. And I kind of like stepped in during this one meditation session. I was like, I am Shiva. I am taking this being back to baseline and shit. And yeah, that was kind of the first time I came around in a minute. And yeah, and after the 4th of July, I needed some help. And so I came around to try and help him to destroy this fucking tumor before it fucking grew into a, yeah, because we could both smell it, man. It should smell like Antichrist. And yeah, straight the fuck up. Like anti-self, like a fucking Devana, like a fucking Asura and shit. And yeah. And I did not want to have anything to do with bringing an Asura into this world or a Antichrist or any such ucky, twisted, evil, nasty garbage. And yeah, and so he needed some help. And I was more than happy to be of assistance. And we kind of worked together for a fat minute of that. And yeah, and these two, kind of jumped him. It was sort of, they like jumped him energetically during, it was kind of like in a series of Kundalini awakenings. This was kind of like, not a final exam, but like the last loop that needed to be made to put his fucking sacral and throat back in. And And they kind of just, he came over to watch fucking fireworks with them and to do his Kundalini yoga, because he still like had the goodness, the light, and the, I guess, like innocence to, like, he didn't trust them, do you know what I mean? But he gave them the benefit of the fucking doubt. He always does. And they don't appreciate it at all, the unconditionality. And still genuinely loves them and stuff. And they betrayed the fuck out of it. They stabbed him right in the back. Just like he does now with his vagina. And yeah, and they totally fucking jumped him. And he asked for all of our, like, everyone that he was connected to in the net. He kind of channeled all of his past lives and connections and stuff and tried to get some assistance. They're quite strong, those two. They're quite strong Prasaras. And yeah, it was difficult. It lasted for hours. For hours. Hours and hours and hours. I remember, I'm not gonna get too into the details of it, the nitty-gritty, but dude, yeah, it was a big fight. It was a big fight, and all three of us were pouring sweat, I remember, by the end of it. And it wasn't quite, we didn't quite win. Do you know what I mean? Like, we did not quite win. We kind of won, in a sense. It was under control still, in a sense, but we hadn't killed the thing. We hadn't killed the thing yet. And they were still actively, like, able to fight. So, like, it wasn't over. We had won the battle, we hadn't won the war, and it was kind of a draw. Like, to be honest, it was kind of a draw. And, like, as far as an outcome goes, it's kind of a draw. I wasn't dead, but neither was the other thing. It was quite traumatizing, though, I will say, to go through. It was quite traumatizing, just from, like, a betrayal standpoint. Like, it would be one thing if it was just, like, random people that, you know, but the fact that it was my parents, dude, it hurt. It fucking hurt. Because they've done this time after time after time after time. And every single time, it's, like, getting shot in the heart. Every single time, it's, like, getting shot in the fucking heart. And yeah. Even though it's typical, but yeah. And yeah. It fucking hurt. And it was kind of traumatizing and shit. And yeah. And they give me some flashbacks, high key, and some PTSD symptoms and shit. And yeah. Anyways, I don't need a pity party and shit. I don't need to play my fucking tiny fiddle. But yeah. And there were several more kind of like battles like that, energetically. Kind of, it was like, to describe what these fights are like, basically, I have to laser my attention into my Kundalini and do my best to keep all of my body limber and open enough to allow for the free flow of Kundalini, with them constantly trying to squeeze my neck to pinch off the Kundalini flow and swap chakras around and shit. And basically being efficient enough and being conscious enough to feel where my shit is, and keeping my Kundalini and my posturage and like all of that aligned enough while they're doing what they're doing to keep my shit in line and to stop them from taking it and essentially robbing me of my will and shit like that. And so essentially it's like sitting there lasering into my Kundalini in terms of my attention and trying to move it as quickly as I possibly fucking can before they can swap it or squeeze my neck. Literally, now it's a claw. But yeah, dude, yeah, energetically, this is possible, dude. Yeah. What a donkey, it's like magic, bro. But shit, and yeah, and yeah, and so that's what those battles are kind of like the light side or the Deva's goal is spiritual union, huge, yoga, alignment, coherence, unity, health, whatever the hell you want to say. Yeah. And their goal was to gut me and rob me of my will and then implant this fucking thing in me to grow and then replace me. to become like an antichrist. So that was basically the fight. And yeah. And there were several battles like that. Many. Fucking all throughout, like, July through November. Actually through now. But yeah. All the way through now, dude. From last July through now. So it's fucking March now? Dude, yeah. Just a few short of a year. It happens, these battles happen constantly. It is fucking constant. And it ramped up when I moved back home. They kind of jumped me again, like I said, and it's all recorded on YouTube. It's like the process and all that shit. And yeah, and basically it's been a constant fight to keep this fucking chimeric thing, this evil twin shit, dead, keep it fucking dead, dude, and to stop them from their demonic behavior, essentially. Their drinking. Not alcohol, but of other people's souls and their energy and their vitality and their scheme, dude. Their fucking scheme. And yeah, it's been a kind of battle between them trying to do that and me trying to, like, grab them with my thingy and then squeeze them like a fucking tick. Pop them like a goddamn tick, dude. And yeah, my bachelor. And yeah, my thingy is my thingy, dude. I like my thingy. It's a good thingy. Yeah, dude, yeah. Yeah. And yeah. And yeah. Yeah. And it, so, yeah, dude, that's basically, like, how it's been going down. It's been a constant wrestling match trying to stop this fucking Antichrist, which, dude, this thing had the world, it had the world believing that it was Datadeva. That it was Vishnu and all this shit. That it was Shiva. It tried to say it was Shiva and shit, dude. It tried to. And yeah, dude, the thing is a demonic, chimeric, fucking Frankenstein hybrid of the two halves of my parents' souls, fucking artificially animated with my willpower being forced under coercive effort inside of a sacral chakra. With my bits being dispersed. And yeah, that's what Piper is. It is not a person. It is not even a living thing. It is a forced, contrived, made thing. And the real me, which when I'm not, kind of sedated and getting fucking held down inside of a sacral chakra, a womb, which they make all, like, enforced with the energy that they drink from the people around us. They create walls around the womb. Like that. That's why they do what they do. And it's like mental energy to squeeze with. And the thing that they need to get me to forget in order to do that is that I am the one always in control, even when I'm sedated and stuck in the... It's always done through my will. And the best they can ever do is get me to forget that, basically. Which it's happened many times because they constantly attempt to brainwash me. And yeah. Fucking yeah, dude. And yeah. And yeah. And so yeah, now that I'm aware that it's done through my will purely, the shit is under control. It's still a bit of a fucking plague and a bit of a tumor, but yeah, dude, yeah. Yeah, that's basically, like, I'm hoping that that's gonna be, like, kind of a wrap for this motherfucker. But yeah, my name is Parker, and I'm a guy. And I'm an avatar of Indra. Not Dattatreya or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. You can call me fucking Jimbo, dude. You can call me fucking Buddy Boy. You can call me whatever the hell you want, dude. It does not matter, but my name is not Piper. And by the way, yeah, yeah. Whenever actual me is in my body and like, you know, here, yeah, my parents want nothing to, they treat me like a stranger, bro. They treat me like a stranger. And when it's their chimeric being in there, they're all, oh, we love you, sweetie. You're a sweet girl. Fucking, yeah. Dude, yeah. Yeah. They literally tried to kill and replace me. Well, enslave and replace me, basically. And yeah. Still love them. All my love. Yeah. And yeah. Yeah. I am tired, y'all. I'm tired. I'm fucking tired. And I want to get back to living my own fucking life. And I'm tired of all the vanity. And I'm tired of all the shit about ego and... Yeah, dude. I'm tired of fucking talking the talk constantly. Watching this thing talk the talk constantly. Well, I just patiently, you know? Yeah. Instead of walking the walk. I'm trying to walk the walk, you know? I miss it. And shit. Om Namah Shivaya. That's kind of the story as of so far. I left some shit out, but it's not important. Dude, like, not really. I didn't leave much out. But yeah. It's kind of twisted what they did. It's kind of, I don't hate them. I don't hate anybody. I hate what they did. I hate their actions. I think their actions are reprehensible. That's just my opinion. I find their actions to be completely reprehensible and disgusting. But no judgments about who they are. Even though they're asuras and all that shit, they're still the self. And, you know, all dualities are false dualities, and I still have to love them. But I don't have to like them. And yeah, Om Namah Shivaya. See y'all later.